Gaza's government media office has condemned Israel's continued restriction on aid into the territory. Severe weather conditions are further threatening the lives of thousands of displaced Palestinians. At least 300,000 tents and mobile homes are needed to secure basic shelter. But Israel's continued rejection of requests from aid agency means Palestinians are resorting to old, inadequate tents under heavy rain. Let's go to our correspondent Tariq Abu-Azzoum, who's in Deir al-Balah for us in Gaza. So, Tariq, what exactly has Gaza's media office been saying about the living conditions in Gaza?
In fact, Malin, Gaza's government media office has sounded the alert over the severe humanitarian crisis that has recently compounded by harsh weather elements and the rainy conditions that we saw clearly across multiple areas in the Strip. The office confirmed that Gaza needs at least 300,000 makeshift tents and mobile houses in order to house hundreds of thousands of families who have left stranded across the whole Strip without proper shelters. You understand that families are living in fragile and flimsy makeshift tents that have got soaked during the past 3 days, and we saw how desperate was the humanitarian situation for them, as they have no new shelters. They are living in bombed out buildings, and many of them in fact have become stranded once they have lost their makeshift tents as rain poured across the entire Strip. What has been so also alerting to mention is that the Gaza's government media office has been asking and calling the United States of America to uphold the agreement and even to exert further pressure on Israel to allow for more makeshift tents to access the Strip, as the numbers that have been sent to Gaza since the implementation of the ceasefire deal remains very limited and cannot meet the demands of Gaza's population. We saw how the civilian infrastructure has been massively impacted as a result of the Israeli airstrikes, and how roads were quite flooded with water and dirt as families were forced to cope with one of the harshest scenarios they have ever expected as a result of Israel's ground operations here in Gaza, and how the destruction of such significant infrastructure had led to further repercussions in terms of how families are coping with the humanitarian crisis, in particular the lack of shelters and makeshift tents as well.
Tariq, stay with us. I'm going to come back to you. Palestinian factions, including Hamas, are rejecting foreign military presence, international bases, or any external control of Gaza. They say it's a violation of their sovereignty. They also say they don't want to disarm. The factions have condemned a US-drafted resolution which will be tabled at the UN Security Council later on Monday. The Hamas spokesman, Hazem Qassem, has told Al Jazeera it would mean replacing Israeli occupation with another form of foreign guardianship. Instead, he's been calling for a resolution which reinforces the ceasefire and includes the deployment of UN peacekeepers in Gaza. Let's return back to Tariq Abu-Azzoum in Gaza. So, Tariq, tell us more about what Hamas has said today.
Well, Hamas is starkly rejecting any presence of international stabilisation force, labelling it to be another extension for the occupations and full rebrand of the Israeli military occupation of the Gaza Strip. And they believe that it would place Gaza under international trusteeship through either the International Stabilisation Force or even the Board of Peace that was suggested by the US President Donald Trump, where Palestinians want to see Palestinian figures are governing the whole Strip as a part of the agreement. And we have heard from Hamas before that they are quite ready to transfer authority to the technocratic government, and even to be headed by one of the ministers in the current Palestinian Authority government that was shaped recently and headed by Dr. Mohammed Mustafa. Now, we need to remind our viewers that both Hamas and Israel has agreed on the first phase of the agreement to be later discussing critical issues regarding the disarmament, the Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, and the reconstruction process. And we saw multiple statements made by the Israeli Prime Minister and key Israeli officials linking between the reconstruction of Gaza with the disarming military factions here in the Strip, which we started recently to see as a sticking point to move to the second phase of the agreement. But for now, what we can see for sure is that critics on the ground say that Palestinians are viewing the presence of the International Stabilisation Force to be a new governor who will shape the economic, cultural and social life in Gaza, which means that Palestinians won't be able to be involved in any decision-making process that might take place in the future, and the whole Gaza Strip will turn into a spot that will be controlled from air, land and sea in terms of what goes in, what comes out. And for mediators, they understand that they must now exert further pressure on both sides to bridge these gaps and to arrange the second phase of the agreement that can bring further stability to the entire Strip and to ensure further flow of the humanitarian supplies as stipulated in the agreement.
Okay, many thanks for that. Tariq Abu Zoom there for us in Deir al-Balah in Gaza.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.